we have about 45 minutes together, and you have taken this time out of your busy, productive day to be here. So my promise to you is that, for the next 45 minutes, I'm going to make you think like you've never thought before. So all I ask you is that open your mind, put your guards down, because you joined this session or the summit to be able to learn something that you're not aware of, so you can apply it to your life and really transform your results. So as I said, open your mind, put your guards down. You don't have to believe into everything that I'm saying, but just give yourself that gift of an open mind where you can evaluate. And why? Because truth resonates with the essence of who we are. Okay, so with that, Haley, can you hear me well? Haley?
You're back now.
You didn't hear me at the beginning?
You were going well, and then you broke up for a few seconds, and now you're back.
Okay, awesome. So hopefully you heard that. I'm just going to really make you think like you've never before for the next 45 minutes. So hang in tight, okay? So ladies, can you answer just a couple of questions for me? And some of these are rhetoric questions. I don't even want you to type anything up, but just really think. Would you ever get into the driver's seat without knowing how to drive a fancy high-end car? No, you won't. Would you ever operate a very sophisticated machine without ever having the instruction manual for it? Probably you won't, because you know when you have the instruction manual, you will get the most and the best out of it. Now, here's my question. For us human beings, we are such potent and complex creatures. Why is it that we were never given an instruction manual, right? Why is it when, let's say, Haley and I were little, why didn't they ever say that, hey, Haley and Pradnya, when you're in elementary school, let's sit you in a class, right, where we help you understand who you are, what mind is, what's the relationship of the mind to your behavior, to your results, what's self-image, and how do you live inside out? Because think about it, we went through our education system and we learned, let's say, all throughout elementary, middle school, high school, learning about history, geography, calculus, mathematics, all of that. And then in our vocational career, we went through marketing, sales, and operations, and everything in between. But there was never a thinking class. There was never a class that helped us understand us and the one that gave us the human instruction manual. And so then we got into the work world or workforce, either as an entrepreneur, an executive, or an employee, and we gathered knowledge and skill sets, which are critical, because without which we never even get a seat at the table. Won't you agree? But knowledge is potential power. It's what we do or don't do with that knowledge dictates the return on investment we will get or won't get. And that is dictated by you, okay? So people actually intuitively get it. And that's why they say things like, when you grow, your business grows. When you stagnate, your business stagnates. They say things like, if you want your life to change, you have to change. If you want things to improve in your life, you have to improve. But my polite question to you is that, do you know who that you is that these people are asking us to change and upgrade and improve upon? And let me give you an example, okay? Let's say two entrepreneurs, ladies, are working in the same industry, okay? Serving similar sort of clients, selling similar sort of services or products, having gone through similar sort of enablement, or even have similar sort of experience. Why do you think that one entrepreneur in that industry blows past through his own expectation and revenue records versus the other one is barely keeping the lights up? Really think, why? And you know why? Intuitively, you will say, well, Pradnya, this person that's really doing well versus the other person, this person thinks differently, has a better mindset, has a different belief system, expects differently. His self-esteem is different, is more confident, has better attitude, has more grit, and the list goes on. But you see, I mean, let's say Beth is here, I see her. Let's say, Beth, if you and I were to be in person, I would shake your hand and I would feel your hand, right? But where is your mindset, your thinking, your beliefs, your behaviors, your habits, your expectation, your grit, your attitude? Are you getting to the point? What I'm emphasizing is that it's that invisible side of our personality to and through our behavior and action sculpts the visible side of our results. You see? So if we want to change the results, then it's a no-brainer that we're going to have to change the inside, the way we think, our mindset. Are you with me? Does that make sense? I see some ladies nodding their head. So with that, let me just take a moment to introduce myself. As Haley said, I'm Pradnya Leitner. I am a mindset-based business and a personal success coach. And I spent about a decade in the corporate world, folks, with IBM and Salesforce, rotating through different silos, corporate sales, sales enablement and execution, global marketing leadership. And with all due politeness, I had plenty of accomplishment there. My resume looked stellar. However, there was a gaping hole in my heart. And you know why? Because I had concluded it early on, 7th year into my corporate career, that there's a difference between achievement and fulfillment. And I wanted to live the life of meaning and significance that's aligned with my purpose, that allows me to serve people in ways that I want to. So that's what brought me on this journey. And I've been on it for the last little over 2.5 years. And here's what I want to say. Who you learn from matters. Who you learn from matters. So I chose to seek, some of the best mentors in the world, Bob Proctor, Sandy Gallagher. They're considered renowned, mentors in the field of human potential, success, mindset, prosperity, consciousness. And the reason I'm citing it here is because what I'm sharing with you is not something that I pulled out of, thin air. These are the principles that successful people in any and all walks of life follow. So with that, let me just take another moment to just briefly speak about the people that I serve and how do I serve them. My clients come from all backgrounds and walks of life. If you kind of just quickly glance at it, you will see that people come from different industries, different levels of seniority, different income levels, okay? Now, yet there is a common thread. They all want to grow. So what I do is I help them set a goal that they previously thought unattainable. And then step by step, I help them transform their thinking, mindset, beliefs, behaviors, habits, so that they can make that permanent shift and transformation to get to the new levels, whether it be multiplied income, whether it be meaningful relationship, whether it be health, and everything in between. Now, again, briefly, if you look at it with seniority to newbies, everything in between is who I'm serving. But as I said, the common thread is they want to be more, do more, have more, and give more. And let me just take a moment to explain what I mean by that. Some of them are stuck. They know that there is more in them. They believe in that, but their results are not, demonstrating that or providing the proof. And they know that they want to grow. Okay. Now their category, maybe they're stagnant. They're keeping the lights up, but every year, year after year, it's 10, 20% increase in their revenue, or pretty much, flatlined. And they know they want to grow. Now, the third bucket is where some of these clients are multi-million-dollar established businesses like personal injury attorney or dental office here in Oakland, California, right? Now, they don't have any issue making, or earning revenue, but they want to make a quantum leap because they have a bigger purpose in their heart. And that quantum leap requires that you shift from within. No other person better than Goethe will help me explain to you. Goethe said, a German philosopher, that you have to be, do, have, and give. It's never that you do it and then you have it and then you become that person and then you can give. It's never that. So if you agree to that, so now let's get into what I will cover in this session. I really want to help you understand how you can set the right goal, because the goal that you set is a make or break. It really has that much power over your results. Understanding the mental conditioning. And as I said, we were never taught about this in school or even in our vocational training, right? But this mental conditioning is what holds us back. So if we don't understand it, then when the going gets tough, we throw in the towel. So we don't want to do that. And then lastly, I want to harp on self-image. What is self-image? It's one of your biggest conditioning, and how that keeps you locked into where you're at or can allow you to make that quantum leap and a permanent shift in your results. Yeah. So with that, I told you I'll take maybe a minute or two to talk about me, to introduce myself, but the rest of the presentation is now again about you. I really want you to focus on you. I'm not expecting you to type in any, answers or results, but really focus on you. Drop into your heart in your, sanctum sanctorum, and answer some of these questions for yourself, okay, or yourselves. Where are you in 2020? 9 months have gone past by, almost, and 3 months are in ahead of us. Where are you? Okay. What is your expectation from the rest of the 2020? Don't judge yourself. Don't label yourself. Just please observe what your answers are coming up to be. Where do you see your business and life landing at the end of 2020 or even beyond? Let's say a year from now, September 2021, September 24th, 2021. Where do you see yourself landing? Just really think, okay? No judgment, just observation. And here's the thing, whether you think you can really make it happen within the remainder of the year, the 3 months ahead of us, or the next year looks fabulous, or whether you think, oh my goodness, there's so much doom and gloom, and I don't know how I'm gonna survive, with all my love and all due politeness, you are right. Whether you think you can or you cannot, either way, you are right. And I didn't say that. Henry Ford said that, right? Here's the thing, faith and fear are both unseen states that we choose to believe in. What you're afraid of hasn't happened yet, and what you're expecting has yet to show itself on the physical plane. So we have a choice as to whether we're going to believe in what we can do and why it won't happen, or what we can make happen. But that will require that you become aware of your thinking and you're able to really get hold, of that thought process. Look, you have a choice. And when I say that, Viktor Frankl comes to my mind. He was a Viennese psychiatrist, ladies, and, born in Vienna. And during Nazi time, he was put in a concentration camp. Okay, he was put through all sorts of psychological, physical, emotional abuse. Yet, he wrote a book after coming out of the concentration camp titled Man's Search for Meaning. And he said, the last of human freedom is in our ability to choose the thought that we want to choose. So granted, pandemic is happening. Protests did happen. Wildfires, if you're in California, absolutely are happening. Air quality, of course, it's getting impacted severely. Nobody is denying it, or I'm not asking you to live in denial, but you have a choice. If Viktor Frankl could have choice, so do you and I. But the question is, just because we have the choice, are we exercising it? Yeah. And this is where, again, I want you to think. So do you know what you really, really want? Because most of the time, if you don't have the understanding of that, it's very easy to come from a place of fear and how things are going bad and every negative news catching our attention, right? And then our own voice turning into negative Nancy. You see what I'm saying? Is this making sense? So do you know what you want? And I'm not talking about a vague, sort of a nebulous, hazy idea of what you want. I'm talking about, do you have a crystal clear picture of what you want in personal life and professional life? And if you don't, you can start now, right? So with your permission, I'm going to take you on this thought exercise, okay? With your permission. So come along, do not resist. These are just a question. Nobody's putting you, right on the spot and saying, make it happen. But what if you could have a solid 2020? What if, right? Now you might say, well, Pradnya, don't you know what's happening in the world? Well, I know my clients are growing, right? I know that in the worst of the depression in 1929, that this country experienced, there were people who were still doing well, right? So what if you could 2x that goal? Grant yourself the permission. I didn't say make it happen, but allow at least yourself to get to that place to explore, to open up your imagination and see what if, not that I'm going to make it happen, but what if? Just permit, allow yourself to think big. Because we just said it, whether you think you can or you cannot, either way, you're right. Now, I'm going to stretch you just a tad a little bit further. Let's say this is September 24th, 2021. What if you could 3x your goal? What if? And you are having answers come up in your heart. And that is your conditioning, inner voice talking. Okay? Now, stay with me. This is Roger Bannister. Okay? This gentleman in the 1950s wanted to run a mile under a 4-minute span. You know, physicians, researchers, biologists, everybody said it's not possible for a human being to run a mile under a 4-minute span. It's just physiologically not possible. This gentleman held on to that idea in his thinking and his mind. Now, nothing was served to him on a silver platter. He had to work and become that person, become deserving of it, and he did. And guess what, guys and ladies? In 1953, at the age of 25, Roger Bannister became the world's first person to run a mile under a 4-minute span. Now wait, 2 months down the line, people from all around the world started matching his record. And guess what? A few months down the line, you ready? Don't fall off the chair. Somebody broke Roger Bannister's record. I see some of you nodding your head. Now think with me. I told you in the beginning, I'm going to make you think. Thinking, look, there's a difference between habitual mental chatter that takes us nowhere and keeps us shackled, and disciplined, accurate thinking that takes us to our goal. I'm asking you to think, right? So where was the limitation? Was it a physiological limitation, or was it a perceived mental, psychological limitation? You see, now here's the thing, okay? I'm not saying that you can do anything you want and then you can develop wings. No. What you want's got to be within the bounds of nature, okay? Absolutely. But your real limits in life are way, like far beyond the artificial mental boundaries and limitations that you impose on yourselves. Why? And that's what we're going to look at. But why? Now, as I gave you that context, you know, we set the stage. Now, again, I want to look at your own life, business life, personal life, and think about goals. Okay. Now, I come from the corporate world, right? I spent about a decade there, and they talked about SMART goals. I'm not talking about SMART goals. When I say goal, I am talking about what is it that you really, really, really want. Not what you know how to do, not what you think you can do, but what is it that you really, really want? But for that, you're going to have to give yourselves the permission to even think first. So why do we set goals, ladies? We set goals because the real purpose of a goal is to grow. Whatever it is, whether it's a new home or a child in a private school, or, you know, multiplied business income or revenue, or whatever else, the health, the relationship, that is the effect. The cause is the growth that you have on the inward psychological mental plane that affects your actions and takes you to your goal, right? So it's critical that you have a goal, because if you're not growing, which is the very purpose of the goal, you're disintegrating. And you might say, well, now stop talking like that. I'm not saying that anybody is dying overnight, but when we don't have goals, we start getting frustrated. We have disappointments. You know, there is self-esteem that takes a blow. And all of this percolates in all aspects of our lives. So goal setting is not an optional thing. It's a critical thing. Think about a ship, ladies, okay? When a ship leaves the dock, you know, it can go as effectively and as fast and as speedily and everything in between, but unless and until it has the destination, it cannot do well. It most likely will get rocked in the middle of the ocean. And that is what causes us at times to overwhelm, not knowing with crystal clear clarity, what is it that we want in our business life and professional life. You know, Robert Heinlein puts it beautifully. He said that, you know, in absence of a clearly defined goal, we become strangely loyal to the daily trivia of life until and unless we become enslaved by it. So your goals will dictate your priorities. Now, as we talk about goals, let's get into understanding the types of goals, okay? And we only have 45 minutes, so I'll briefly touch upon it. But let's at least take a look. A-type goal, B-type goal, and C-type goal. A-type goal is something that you know you can do. You, let's say, attained $100,000 in your business last year. You know you can do it. You bought a car, you're buying a new model. You know you can do it. There's no growth and no inspiration. Don't set that kind of a goal. There's no growth. Now you say, well, I'm going to set B type of goal. But you know what the issue is with the B type of goal? There is but little inspiration. Some of you are chuckling, and no growth. Okay, B-type goal is when you start looking at the past and you say, okay, I did this. So if this resource comes in, if this person helps me, then I can see myself getting here. I didn't ask you to think and look at the past and think and extrapolate as to where you can go. I am asking you to drop in your heart of hearts and ask yourselves, what is it that I want? And that is your C-type goal. You know, this is the type of goal that you can only get into by igniting, by turning on your human imagination. Okay, now think about it. Why were we given imagination? I mean, memory, when it takes you down the memory lane, you don't question it. Why is it that we can see the images in our mind that can make us feel a certain way? Your imagination is your starting point. Einstein said, imagination is your, it's a preview of life's coming attractions. Are you tapping into your imagination, or is it rusted? But tap into it and see what is it that you really, really want. And once you tap into your imagination, and again, in 40 minutes, you can't make that happen, but that's why there is recordings, right? Or whatnot. Go back and get into this exercise. What is it that you want personally? A new, beautiful, more spacious home, a beautiful, meaningful, deep relationship and connection, great parenthood. What is it that you want? Vacation where you can create an experience and memory for your loved ones. What is it that you want? And what is it that you want professionally? Do you want to just stay where you're at, or do you want to grow and multiply your revenue? And I'm very precise with my, choice of words and language. Multiply. Right? What is it that you want? Do you want to have a team? Do you want to have customers, that you're offering, to whom you're offering so much in service value than you're accepting in cash value? What is it that you really, really want? Think. Okay. Now, the moment you think about it, these negative voices are going to come up. Who am I to do this? Well, who are you not? Okay. It'll be really hard. Well, you haven't even begun, and you're projecting as to why this is going to be hard. Right? What will others think of me? Again, I see dear ladies nodding their head. Well, what others think of me is none of my business. What I think of me is all of my business. Look, I tell my kids, care deeply, deeply about people, but do not care about their opinion of you. Okay? What if I fail? Well, big deal. When you started walking, you failed. And I'm saying it with love. Because if you don't start, then you're going to fail by default. And rocket, by the way, ladies, fails its way to the moon. It goes off course and keeps course correcting 90% of the time. Why can't you and I get started? I remember when I was at IBM, and Haley and I have that common thread. Jeannie Rometty, our ex-CEO, used to say, fail fast and fail forward. She said, growth and comfort do not coincide. Pick one. Right? Now, last one is, I don't want to be greedy. Well, who are the people who are doing philanthropic things and supporting causes? What kind of businessmen and women are really creating legacy for their family? The ones that have created things for themselves. So if your cup is not full, how are you going to support others? So there should be no guilt in wanting more, as long as you want that for everybody. Now, get rid of these limiting beliefs. Now, just because I say it doesn't mean that you have crushed them or, completely dissolved them, but now you're becoming aware. Okay. Now, there are two key questions that you will ask when you set a C-type goal. Should you choose to come along with me and set that type of a goal? Okay. One is, am I able, and am I willing? Am I able? It's a straightforward answer. Okay. Neuroscience says we at best are using 10% of our brain's capacity. So yes, you're able. Okay. And spirituality says that there's infinite potential in each and every one of us. Are you willing to bring that to the surface by working on yourself and developing and growing yourself? The question rather should be, am I willing? Am I willing to become that person? Am I willing to go through metamorphosis? Am I willing to understand the things that we're going to talk about? Okay. Now, just to emphasize why C-type goals should be set, I'm just going to share one example, and rest of the time, we're not even going to get into it because we only have 45 minutes, right? But one of my clients, ladies, he is a personal injury attorney, renowned one here in San Francisco, okay? He wanted to win more jury trials and consistently because he was doing really well, but he knew he could do better and serve his clients well, okay? So he set out that goal, and we worked for 6 months. He learned tried and tested, proven principles that he could apply to himself, and himself. And with that, he could get into the court with confidence. Okay, he could show up as that person who wins that jury, those jury trials. And guess what? Now, this gentleman had been in business for 27 years, and he's continuing to be in business, right? I didn't teach him anything about law. I mean, pardon me, I don't know much about law. Sorry. I taught him about him. And in 2019, he settled his largest case till the date at 11.6 million. And even in the midst of COVID, in March, April timeframe, he closed another $4 million case. Now think about it. With my attorney client, nothing had changed. His knowledge was still there. His belief, his expectation, his attitude, his mindset shifted, which led him to having the results that he didn't have before. Now he's continually using this model because it's not one and done. When you grow from within and are going after one goal, that growth percolates in all aspects of your life. But in addition, it's a rinse and repeat formula. So he's applying it even in the midst of COVID. He's becoming that beacon of light, serving others on a weekly basis with value. Now, if he can, so can we. If he can, so can we. But now for that, you're going to have to understand how your results happen. Do you know how your results happen? Do you? And you might say, well, yes or no. But here's the thing. We've ought to understand how results happen. Otherwise, it's always miss or hit. Okay? There's no luck or fluke or chance involved. And you might say, well, that's a big statement, but I'll explain it in a moment, right? Ladies and people, our results are the reflection of us. And let me back up and say this. I studied biomedical engineering, and in there, I studied behavioral psychology, human physiology, and neuroscience. And then in the corporate world, they put me through all sorts of training. Yet, how come even I never, ever understood how my results get created to and through me? They do. Our results are the reflection of all the thoughts and ideas and beliefs that we have internalized up until this point in time. So if you want to change the outside, you've got to change the inside. This is the third time I'm saying it. Because if you don't like how your hair is partitioned and you look in the mirror, you don't start, scratching and scribbling the mirror. You change the partition and mirror simply catches that, upgraded reflection. So again, you've got to understand how results happen in life. Now, you might be where you're at and somebody in your field who's doing much better, let's say, okay? Or maybe you want to be the first one to do that much better, right? There's no difference between that person and you. It's just that that person thinks differently, has a different mindset, belief system, expectation, attitude. But there's no difference in potential. It's just what this person is putting in. So let's take a quick look at how results happen. And I said that, your thinking plays a big role and part in it, right? So if you, and this is what, all leaders in the world have unanimously agreed upon, we become what we think about. So ask yourselves, and in a very gentle, kind, warm-hearted manner, what have I been thinking about? And if you want to know what you've been thinking about, look at your life, look at your current results in an objective way. Do not beat yourself. That's one thing that I do not, give you permission for. Just objectively look at those results. And then know that your results are the reflection of you. So then understand everything that's in the physical world, whether it's this computer or Zoom or this vest or everything in between, right? Was an idea in somebody's mind and imagination. And so is your dream that you would choose to set as your C-type goal. So my question to you is that, have you been thinking about lack and limitation and why it can't happen? Or are you really telling yourself, I'm going to be willing to understand the power that's within me that flows to and through me and use it toward creating the world that I want to create for myself, my loved ones, my community, and the world? Look, ladies, we think in secret and it comes to pass. Environment is but our looking glass. James Allen said it. Thought is quiet. But it's the most potent form of energy that's out there. It's just that we never learned it. Okay. Now you might say, well, Pradnya, okay, now I'm coming along with you. Okay, understandable. I'm willing to set a C-type goal. Well, then you will say, okay, I need to know where I'm at and I need to know where I'm going. But my question to you is that if it were to be that simple, right? If it were to be that simple, why would so many people be stuck? Think hard. At first, I thought maybe they don't have goals. But you know what? Harvard study has proven only 14% of even Harvard grads are attaining their goals. Why? So it's not knowing where we're going, but it's the conditioning. By that, I mean, it's our paradigms where we are at today. And I'm not talking about physically where we're at. I know I'm in East Bay physically on this Zoom call with you. I'm talking about where you are mentally. Look, everybody knows how they can be or doing differently or how they can do differently in their business and personal life. But that doesn't mean people will do it. You know why? It's not even our fault. It's our conditioning. But it's our responsibility to change it because it's the conditioning that keeps you locked up. So you might say, well, what is this conditioning? We call it paradigms. Paradigms are a group of habits, ladies, that keep us shackled and operating in an autopilot manner. Paradigms create habits and they run us habitually. And you might say, really? Yes, only 2 to 4% of your results, perceptions, and behaviors are conscious. Rest of them are all subconscious. Okay, to give you an example, when you wake up in the morning, you don't have to think about, how to get out of your pajamas and how to boil the water if you're, making a tea or whatnot. You just go through your day. The only decision that you're making in the morning is what am I going to wear for work? And now maybe what am I going to make for breakfast? That's the only time when you have to think. Rest of the time, all of those thoughts are happening habitually. Think about another example. Let's say when I learned to drive at the age of 16, I was in 10 and 2 position. I learned on stick shift, right? And all of that. So my attention was so much focused on the steering wheel, on the stick shift, the mirror, changing lanes required so much of my attention. Now think hard. Today, when I go from point A to B and I take my kids to wherever I want to take them, I'm yapping with them. I mean, I'm connecting. I'm really involved. I want to be a nurturing mom, yet I'm fully focused on the road. Not even an ounce of, deliberate focused thought needs to be given to, am I holding the steering wheel well? Am I really hitting the brakes? I mean, you're fully present while you're driving, but that driving has become a subconscious habit. I again see many of you nodding your heads. So that's a physical level habit. But just like that, you have a habit of thinking about who you are, what's possible for you, how much farther you will go in life or not, what success you can attain or not. But these are all habits. Now, again, we have very little time together, so I can't dive into each and every principle, but this conditioning, which we call paradigm, controls your results by controlling many aspects of your life. We might just touch upon 1 or 2, okay? But think about it, perception. Let's say there are many people on the jury and let's say one juror looks at the current situation as a criminal act, whereas the other one looks at that same situation and says, no, there's total innocence. Then do you think there are 2 separate realities? No. Each juror is interpreting the information differently. So why am I citing it here? 2 entrepreneurs might look at the pandemic, but their interpretation as to what's possible for them will differ based on their conditioning. Are you with me? Is this making sense, right? Take example of time. Each and every one of us has equal amount of time, 24 hours, whether it's the, bum sleeping on a park bench or effective executive. And time can never be managed. Activities can. So when we have a crystal clear clarity as to where we're headed, we can prioritize our activities and thereby make the most use of our time. But again, it's controlled by our conditioning. Lastly, I'll touch upon logic. Ladies, in 1903, when Wilbur and Orville Wright took their first historic flight, only 5 people saw that flight. Do you know why? Because they thought anything that's heavier than air, that's up in the air, gets gravitated toward the center of the earth. That was their belief. So they chuckled. They didn't believe it was possible. Think hard. That's logic, right? Today, if you're flying and taking Emirates flight, you can shower on board Emirates. Where is the logic? Logic is dictated by your conditioning. When I was taking you through that exercise, what if you could have solid 20/20? What if you could, in a year span, 2x your revenue or 3x your revenue, there was an inner logic and voice that was coming up? You can change it once you learn to understand how to tackle these paradigms. Let's bring it home, okay? One of the biggest paradigms and conditioning you have, ladies, is your self-image, okay? And your self-image, there are 2 self-images, one that we demonstrate to the world, but one that's buried deeply in our psyche. Okay, it's your belief about who you are. Okay, now your belief about you, again, look at an entrepreneur. Okay, that entrepreneur has his belief about himself or herself. That influences his action toward his prospect or peers or upline and downline. Right now, this person's action toward somebody else impacts that other person's beliefs toward this person. And let's say the prospect's belief about this person causes the prospect's action toward this person, which in turn then reinforces this entrepreneur's belief in himself or lack of it. Am I making sense? Let's say in real estate industry, one is a rookie person, one is a top dog. Top dog goes in, he just goes in with so much confidence, knowing that he's done it so much time, he's picking up the listing, right? Now, going from his own belief, he communicates very confidently. It's felt by the prospect. It's picked up by the prospect in terms of the belief that he has about this real estate agent. And it's communicated back to the prospect by saying, okay, I want to go ahead with you. And then the rookie experiences quite the opposite scenario. So this cycle can become a doom fulfilling cycle or a prosperity circle. It's up to us, but it begins with us, with you and I. So you might say, well, Pradnya, you talked a lot about results. Okay, then you said, I understand where results get created, action and behavior, and my body takes these actions. We all agree upon it. Great. But how does the body take that action? What controls the body? It's your mind. It is your mind. We just talked about the conditioning. Again, some of you are smiling, right? It's the mind. But then this mind is conditioned. Okay, and how was it conditioned? Okay, there's conscious mind and subconscious mind, okay? Now, the mind was conditioned up until the age of 7 when we were little, and that's why Jesuits said, give me a man child under the age of 7 and I'll give you the man. So all the thoughts and ideas and beliefs and opinions and values and everything in between was happening around us. We were absorbing it. And then I started, let's say that's what happened when Pradnya was born. And I started seeing the reality through those lenses when I became 7. And then every single time, my view of reality got confirmed. And then that's how you view the world. So then, okay, you gain more knowledge. You say, okay, my business is not going as well as I want to, or maybe I want to make a quantum leap. So I need to go get more knowledge. I need to take a course. I need to sit in a class, or I need to do something. But just gaining more knowledge, what did we say in the beginning? It's potential power. Just gaining more knowledge without changing the underlying conditioning that's at your subconscious level doesn't cut it. And you know why? Because the conscious mind, the knowledge gatherer part of your mind, is only responsible for 2 to 4% of the results. So you're pressing on the gas there, but the subconscious mind, which controls and runs you on autopilot 96 to 98% of the time, has applied the handbrake. What's that going to lead you to? Frustration. You see? So again, think hard about some of the things that I said. Now, I just want to give you to think one thought, okay? Let's say when you think about your business goal, whether it's 100K or 200K or $250,000, whatever your business goal that you're picking as a C-type goal, okay? From your perspective, you might think, oh, it's a stretch, right? But what if, now we're very grateful for the family that we're born in and we're blessed, but what if you were born in Warren Buffett's family? Then would you have the conditioning that you have today? Would 200K or $250,000 really seem big? No. So then it's your conditioning that's calling shot and controlling your logic. So look, I must bring it home this way. And Einstein puts it eloquently. He says that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Our current results, whether they're, fantastic results, pleasing results, or unpleasing results and causing us heartburn, whatever that is, we have created them. So if we're not liking them, and if we want to get to the next level, then you're going to have to upgrade your thinking, your mindset, your internal patterns. Now you might say, well, got it. I'll do that after this call. But here's the thing. National Science Foundation has proven it. We think 60 to 72,000 thoughts a day. Okay. Now that is one thought per second of every waking hour. Think hard. Can you control each and every one of that thought? And 95% of those thoughts are repeated every day. And then the worst of all is 80% of those thoughts are habitual thoughts that are negative. I'm not good enough. I don't know how I can do it or whether I can do it. I don't feel comfortable, increasing my price even when I know that I'm really downgrading myself. All these things are happening. So think hard. If 95% of the thoughts are getting repeated, okay, then you're reliving yesterday today and thereby creating tomorrow that's a replica of yesterday. History is getting repeated. No wonder our results don't shift much then. But when we shift, there's no other way but the results ought to shift. Okay. Now, if I made you sit here and said, ladies, write down at least 10,000 thoughts that you have within the next 2 hours, you will roll your eyes and give me, a look saying, are you crazy? But does that mean those thoughts are not happening? No. You're only consciously aware of 2 to 4%, but the rest of the thoughts are happening at the below consciousness level. And those are controlling your results. And that is why it's imperative, it's critical that you understand how your paradigm was formed, how that influences every aspect of your life, how that can be changed so you can go on to achieve your goals, how you can close the knowing doing gap, understanding the mind, how you can create the self-image that's commensurate with where you want to go. And I can go on and on and on, but you get the point. Look, to change whatever you want to change, you're going to have to override differently. And for that, you're going to have to start thinking differently. Because all breakthroughs in life were made by people who think a little different. Steve Jobs even had the campaign, think different. No wonder he went on to create a $1 trillion company. Think, guys. Some of these people are unconscious competent. By that, I mean, they do everything correctly. They're just not consciously aware of what they're doing. But we don't want to be that. We want to be consciously aware, because then it becomes a rinse and repeat formula. We can give it to our kids, to our people. Now, you might ask, Pradnya, this was a lot of information, maybe to you, valuable information, but how can I change? You're going to have to make a decision. And a decision means you are going to commit to becoming that person that you're choosing to become. And how does that happen? I love the Kenneth Blanchard quote. He said that there's a difference between being interested and being committed. When you're interested in something, you do it when it's convenient. When you're committed, you do it no matter what. You only accept the results and not excuses. Because that paradigm, that conditioning is right there. It's going to amplify its voice. It's going to control your logic and tell you why you shouldn't do something, why you shouldn't bet on yourself, why you shouldn't grow, right? Don't do that.
Seconds.
Say that again, Haley.
60 seconds.
Perfect. So how are you going to change it? You're going to make that change happen on the mental plane, because you can't change the reality by fighting the existing reality. You're going to have to build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. And that model is built on the mental plane. So in closing, I will leave you with this. We said it's important to set the goal. We don't have to know how to achieve the goals. We've got to challenge our negative beliefs, surround yourself with right people, seek mentors to help you grow because they flatten out the learning curve. And then lastly, take 100% responsibility. So ladies, I hope this offered value to you. I'm just gonna put in the chat box right here. If I'm able to find it, here we go. Just 2 links. One is a gift to you where you can download a 12-point checklist that would help you really get a grip over your mindset, okay? And then secondly, if this message has resonated with you and you wanna understand how you can solidify your goals and really figure out what your gap is, why it's there, and close that gap, what's holding you back, then let's have an open conversation. I would love to contribute to you and serve you via that conversation. So with that, ladies, I am going to wrap up my session. Haley, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to contribute to the lives of others. And you know, feel free to reach out to me via Facebook Messenger as well if you want to connect. Have an amazing rest of the afternoon.